So welcome everybody to at Cook Carmela. I'd love to introduce the beautiful Maggie McCormack, who's an inspired coach, and we'll be talking together about what do we have in common and how we can help you out with the things that we've learned along the way. So welcome, Maggie.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you, Camilla.
I'm really happy to be with you. I met Maggie. We did I go to a carers meeting, and so most of you know that I care for my husband Marco, and Maggie was the meditation coach, and she did about an hour. We did.
It was about, I think it ended up being about 45 minutes, but there were, a couple of shorter meditations and a bit of a chat in between.
Yeah, and so I thought it'd be lovely to do a podcast with Maggie and share her experiences and her life with the people that are my subscribers, and for people who in general want to know about meditation and what inspires. You're a podiatrist. Your profession is a podiatrist.
Yes.
What's inspired a podiatrist to be an inspired coach? So tell us a little bit about that, Maggie.
Sure. Well, I kind of fell into podiatry, and I've been doing podiatry for about 20 years now, but I've always had a lot of other passions on the side. I'm also an actress, and I went to drama school whilst being a podiatrist, and I pursued that. And then I've always been interested in personal development. And over the time, one thing led to another, and I became a real seeker on the path. And I found this coaching school, Global Coaching Academy, which are just fantastic. And I actually thought, oh, I'll train to be a coach to be a better boss, because at that time my business was really expanding and I was having staff, and I just wanted to be a really great employer, sorry. So I enrolled in the Global Coaching Academy, and I just fell in love with it and thought, oh, I can really do this as a career. So now I'm building a coaching business as well as maintaining my podiatry business.
So, it was already there in you. That seed of being a coach was already there. It just all of a sudden, once you got into your element, it was like, wow, this is what I want to do. It's like the shoe with Cinderella, it had to fit you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I just love personal development. Ever since I was 18 or 19, 20, I found Tony Robbins, those old infomercials late at night.
Yeah.
And I just love them. And I always bought personal development books and self-help books. And so when I got into the course, there's a huge amount of it where it's really looking within, and because you can't really hold space for someone if you're not aware of all of your stuff.
Yeah.
And to be able to really separate that and not project, and just it's really important to hold a space of unconditional love and positive regard. So there's a lot of deep reflection in the course.
Wow, that's huge, because we're in a society today where we don't have enough attention span. We're always, running around. We can't think. And so even when we're talking to people today, some people, I'm not saying that not all of us, because I don't, but and I'm assuming you don't, is you're not running things, I can see when I've connected with someone and they're actually listening to me. But most people, like, you can see straight away, they're just looking for the next thing on somebody else, and they don't really want to listen. So, it's really, it's a gift to have that. And it's not even a gift. You have to train yourself.
Absolutely. It's actually one of the core components of the course. It's active listening. And it's been so helpful in all of my relationships to help me hold space for my friends and family. Because I thought that I was a good listener, and I thought that I held space well. But I realized that I would often jump in with, oh, I know what you mean. And then I'd go off on my story that was related to their story, and not really just letting them talk and just be there for them, and not trying to fix it. And so it's been really helpful.
Well, that comes from holding space for that person, what you just said. That's important. And if you are in that space yourself, there's no way that you can hold the space for that person and say, let them talk and let them say the things that they want to say. I've got a very dear old friend who was my father's best friend, and he's 89. He rang me yesterday, and Marco and I went to see him, and all he did was talk. And I could see Marco getting fidgety. And I'm trying to explain to Marco is that he needs to talk. Yeah. It's not necessarily, it's not about us. He needs to talk. He needs to tell us his story because, how many people can't tell their story? People don't have the time to tell their story.
100%. And I encounter this all the time in my work, and it's quite difficult for anyone in the health profession or a caring profession. People are so isolated and neglected, especially I'm mainly talking about the elderly because that's the main demographic that I work with. And people, like I do a lot of home visits as well, and people are they'll try and delay you leaving. Want a cup of tea? Would you like a biscuit? Because they're
lonely.
They're so lonely. They're so lonely.
We're in an environment where we've become so isolated, but we don't understand that we're made for human connection.
Yes.
And
yes,
we are starving for human connection.
Yeah.
Without connecting, it's like a garden. We're a garden in bloom, but we've lost our flowers.
Yes.
They're not blossoming because we're not connecting. So that's what's important. I don't want to talk much about myself. That's why I wrote the second book, The Heart of the Table, connecting with your community through Sicilian food. The second book for me was about connecting people because I could see, how starving they were and how starving we all are. And it's all got to do with society, the media, how they've become isolation. And so people can't even sit at the table. They can't chat. They can't talk. They don't have time. One's in the lounge room. One's in the bedroom. One's outside. One's on the phone. And they can't talk. So we're starving for that human connection. So going back to that question that, we started at the start is what do you and I have in common? I think we've got a lot in common as we progress through the day, through this podcast. We understand that there's so much that we're weaving through, each one, like that connection we've got in common, the spirit we have in common, that love for community we have in common, and most of all, meditation. And when I said to you, when we were at the meeting that day, and I said to you that we're much more than what we think we are, we're spirit, I know I connected straight away with you then.
Yeah. Yes. Spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes.
And it's funny when you like talking to people and someone will say one little thing and you're like, oh, you're like me. We get each other.
We're on the same wavelength,
Yeah.
So, I've got a couple of questions, but I think but who is Maggie McCormack? Who are you? What do you do? What do you inspire? What makes you get up in the morning? Who are you? Just tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so that has definitely changed and evolved over the years. And the last few years, I've really heavily become what I call a seeker on the path. So I'm really, really every day I'm trying to evolve myself and to be more love, more light, more truth, more peace. Like that's a real focus of mine. It became a real focus at around 6 years ago. So that whole did I love more today or did I leave more fear on the planet today? Like that's really in my awareness. And I'm a very busy person. I rush a lot. It's a real one of the reasons I wanted to become a meditation teacher is to help me. Like we teach the thing we both need to learn. It's to really help me to be present, because I'm one of these people that typically gets my value and my worth from being productive and being busy and having a business and doing all the things. And so I really I try and remember several times through the day that I am a spirit. This is just, I believe in reincarnation, and I believe this is one day in the life of our soul. Like my soul's had thousands of lives, and me, Maggie, the personality, this is one day. And so I just try and each day tune in and remember. And, I can go hours by forgetting, like forgetting for hours. And then something will happen and I start to feel a bit off. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. Tune in, align, center, ground. And that really, I am an actor, but I really have slowed down on that, on pursuing that because of this love of coaching. And I have my own podcast, and because it feels.
So
I
while we
feel
just
like
2 minutes, sorry, what's your
yeah.
podcast? What's the name of it?
Oh, my podcast is called Inspire in 5, where I try to inspire you in 5 minutes, but it's usually about 7 to 10 minutes, just short and sweet episodes that I release every Friday that I started in February
I
this
love
year.
them. I love them. I've listened to them. I love them. They inspire me. They give me like a breath. You know, that breath, you catch your breath and you come back down to that. So sorry, I didn't want to interrupt while you were talking, but I just thought
No,
that moment is good so people can, and when we're finished, I'll put all your description in the description box so people can connect with you and follow you and message you if they can. Would there be an email that we can put in, or?
yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 So the podcast is designed to put a pep in your step, to be uplifting, just a little microdose to just help people lift. And yeah, lost my train of thought.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We're just talking about who you are, like, what makes you
Yeah.
the way that you're doing things, and you realize that your
Yeah.
breathing was important because you're a busy person.
Yeah. So I'm really trying to really be of service, and being of service by healing myself, because by healing myself and becoming more loving to self, I can be more loving to other, and that really ripples out through the world.
I think
Like,
it's a journey. It's
yeah,
a whole journey of loving yourself. Just when you think you've got there, something happens and you just realize, wow, I try and
absolutely.
stay in gratitude, and then all of a sudden I'm stared out, and I come back and I think, I lost my thought. I lost my train. Come on, come back, you know?
Yeah. Come back to the center and remember who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so you were
Yeah.
talking about reincarnation. I think you were,
Yeah.
maybe we
Yeah.
just,
So when you say like I thought I was loving myself, and then I think it's like this spiral that we go down. So we, like, when we're healing ourselves, we become more loving, and then we get another test of like, how's your worthiness going? And you're like, oh, I thought I healed my worthiness, but well, I've got hit with a whole bunch of unworthiness. And it doesn't mean that we haven't grown. It's just there's more to grow, because I mean, our souls, eternal, and they've got a lot of baggage, and there's a lot to clear and to heal.
I think the first half of our life is, I've never really I've thought about reincarnation and stuff like that. I'm just more of a believer of, I think this is one life and you've got to give it your best shot. And I believe in God. But I believe that the first half of your life is karma. There is, you pay back whatever, if there's a past life, that it's hard to explain my beliefs, but up until I was in my early 50s, life was really, really, really tough. And as you said, 6 years ago, you had an epiphany and you decided to change. For me, it was realizing that this was it. And I needed to get excuse my French, my shit together. I really needed to get it all together. And I got to get this right, because I don't know if I'm coming back or I'm not coming back. So how about I just try and get what I want to get out there, and show people and be the person that I really want to be. So for me, I had to shut off everybody, everything, and come back to me. And that took quite a long time. And I didn't realize how far away I was from myself, and then stay in that realm and keep that uniqueness of what is me. And being a carer, as you know, is really hard because you're caring all the time. So you're in that servant role and you're always serving, you're always helping. And then you have to come back and you have to realize, hang on a minute, there is me. Because if I don't look after myself, there's no way I can look after Marco or anybody, in around there. So what made you said 6 years ago you changed. So something must have happened or an awakening. What was it that?
I really was on the path earlier. I've always been interested in spirituality. And I had intuitive spiritual mentors over the years, but it was about 7 years ago, I found a school called the Cosmosis Mentoring Center, and they're like a coaching and mentoring center. It's like spiritual based, and there's lots of self-development courses, and it was really beginning learning from them. And I got really serious.
So it was
really
like one thread after another, and
and I just love it. I love it so much.
So your passion, this has become your passion?
Yes. Yeah, coaching and the podcast, like it's evolving. Like I do actually, much like you, I'd like to start a YouTube channel at the end of the year, and I've got ideas about that that I'd like to explore.
I think that'd be great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That would be
really
really
excited
great.
about that. It is a lot of work though, isn't it? Like YouTube.
Well, it is. It takes a lot. You've got to prepare it, then you've got to, edit. I've just been playing around with it and slowly getting better and better as I go,
That's it, making each video 1% better than that.
Yeah, and then it's all trial and error. So many times I look back and I think, but I always, there's two things that I've got in my head, and being an author and a writer and a poet, it's two things. So I write to inspire and write for the person to act out, like to act it. So in other words, like you've got it when you write, it's to inspire somebody, but also for them to take action.
Yeah, the call to action.
Yeah, call to action. So it's the same with my cooking videos. It's I want to inspire the people to cook, because so many people today have stopped cooking, and then they wonder why they're sick, and then they've got to look back. You can't buy your health back once it's gone. It's no. We've got a wonderful human body. God has given us a wonderful temple, and it actually restores itself very well. But some people, once you're on that journey, you've deteriorated your temple that bad that you can't get better. So for me, I've always been health conscious. I care about what I put into my body. I care about how I eat, what I eat, and the seasons that I eat. That's important for me, because seasonal food, being Sicilian, we only ate what was in season. And the seasons teach us. Like at the moment, there's so much out there that's plant-based, green leafy vegetables. They're full of iron, they're full of calcium, they're full of so many minerals and vitamins to prevent you from getting sick.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for,
Yeah.
So you're going back to you, is your passion now is your service.
Yes. Yes. And I do every day. I ask, how may I serve? How may I serve? How may I serve? And it sounds like some noble thing, but like I really can't reiterate enough that healing yourself is being a huge service. So just people being a little kinder, a little more loving, a little more patient, a little more tolerant, that is being of service. Doesn't have to be going off to Africa and starting an orphanage. No, if you get called to do that, wonderful. But the
old saying, charity begins in the home.
Yes. Yeah.
And so how do we stay in that service of coming back? How do we get there? Like some people just can't.
Yeah, I think it takes a village. Like for me, I have so much support. Yeah. so much support. And if I didn't, I would definitely wander off more often because as I said, I'm very busy, very go, go, go. And I could just so get caught up in that. So, I very much believe in accountability buddies.
Yeah.
I've got accountability buddies for coaching with other coaches that are building businesses. I have accountability buddies like spiritual buddies where we like talk about our feelings every day. We check in with each other, I have a coach, I have a mentor, and through my group, there's lots of classes and my partner is very spiritually aware and a wonderful support, and we can have these deep conversations. I'm very, very lucky with him.
Wow.
So there's a lot of support of people that get me and are on the same path.
So what about people that don't have that support? How do people who don't have support and they haven't find that passion? So how can they start? Do you know?
Yeah. So I encounter this a lot in my work. A lot of older people and that have really become isolated for whatever reason. Their kids live in other states or they're not mobile anymore. And I always encourage them to try and call the council and see what services there are, or people they become fearful and they don't want to take that step. But anytime I have pushed myself out of my comfort zone, I have felt such joy after. And I do believe technology is a double-sided or double-edged sword. Like we can have this conversation now through technology. That's amazing. And there's, a downside to technology, but I'm so happy to see a lot of my, as I get older, and I've been in this profession for 20 years. When I first started, none of my patients had mobile phones, and now most of them do. And a lot of them have iPads and they can connect with people. And even though it's through technology, it's a start, but I always encourage them to try and always try and come into the clinic to see me instead of a home visit, unless they're completely immobile, because just that little trip to see me, saying hi to my receptionist and, potentially having a coffee somewhere on the way, and those things matter. And being friendly with the local barista, those things make a difference. Just
being a part of the community. Being a part of the community. So many people just stay inside. I'm when I was a very young girl, probably from about 13 onwards, I suffered from really bad. I was manic depressive, like really bad. I couldn't leave the house and stuff like that. And through the years, I got better. I learned to channel my energy. That's why, my books and all that, they were all channeling my energy and being constructive instead of destructive. And I learned the more I channeled it into the world that I loved and found that passion, the bigger my world became, and depression started to sort of go away. But there are times where, none of us are where we really, really want to be. So I think in life that if you dwell in that area, like there's times where I think, what am I doing all this for? Just let it all go, things like that. And then I don't want to go out. But if I force myself and talk to myself and say, come on, Carmela, you put a lot of work in there. It's good. Even if it's just for you, doesn't matter. If anybody doesn't want to hear it, doesn't matter. But you do it even for you. And I put it into me and I step myself out. I find that it's only that moment and it doesn't become the whole day.
Yes, having that purpose, it's purpose so important. And yes, pushing ourselves, because it's very easy, like losing muscle, like losing skeletal muscle without working it. So can our community or our sense of, I don't know, our willingness to build our friendships and foster our friendships. It's like, I'll just watch television. No, it's so important to keep pushing ourselves, especially after the pandemic, to just keep getting out there.
Yeah, it's important because in the world today, in the world today, there is so many people that are getting dementia.
Yes.
Okay. We've only got 10 minutes, so it's just telling me we've got another 10 minutes. So that's all right. We'll finish this and we'll do a little meditation. So many people have got dementia. Now, I've done a study on that. My mum also, and my whole mother's family, they all had dementia. Our minds were not meant to deteriorate. Do you know that?
Yes. Yep.
So it's when you stop doing the things that you love and you just exist, right? You just sit there and you exist. That's when you've given up.
Yep.
So it's really hard
Agree.
to see that many people with dementia today.
Yeah,
You would see it in your work.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So we really haven't got to even halfway on what we were going to talk about. So we'll do a little meditation. I
Yeah.
think it'd be great just to do a minute or so, 2 minutes, whatever. You're the teacher, and I will just go with
Sure.
you.
Just keep an eye on the time because sometimes I can lose track of time.
So we got 8 minutes.
Okey dokes.
So how can we meditate? Stop. Go. You be the teacher.
Yep. All right. So Carmela and everyone else there listening, if you want to just take a moment and settle in, feeling your body on the chair or the bed or the couch or wherever you are. Feet on the floor if you can. Shutting down the eyes if you're comfortable to do that. Otherwise, finding a soft gaze on the floor in front of you. And if you want to, you can let out a little sigh, signaling to the body that it's time to be still. And let's take a moment to just release our bellies. We can hold a lot of tension there. And softening our faces, our jaws, our shoulders. Feeling the ground under our feet, connecting us to Mother Earth, to Gaia. And let's imagine a beautiful cord running from the center of the universe or from the sun, running down through our heads into our hearts, through our feet and deep into the heart of Gaia. This golden cord aligning us, centering us, grounding us, expanding us. And just bring your attention into your heart space. Focusing on your heart. And I'm going to say a sentence and you can repeat it or in your head or out loud. And as I continue saying the sentence, I'm going to drop 1 or 2 words off. And we'll keep going like that for a little bit. I am grateful to be me.
Grateful to be me.
I am grateful to be me.
I am grateful to be me.
I am grateful to be me. I am grateful. I am grateful. I am grateful. I am. I am. I am. I am. I am. And just noticing how you're feeling in your body. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and come back to the room.
That was beautiful, Maggie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. It was my pleasure to have you on my podcast. Really is. It is a privilege to have a beautiful soul like you are to share your light with others and with yourself. And also, at the end of the day, if people have never meditated or never spent that time understanding that if you've just done it with us, it gives you space, headspace.
Yeah. And if you live life from this space, imagine how different the day would be.
Everything else, it just takes you back to where you belong. So I hope that people, you dear listeners, subscribers, people just popping in on the channel and listening in, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast with Maggie McCormack. I will put all of her information in the description box, and you can follow her on Instagram. You're on Instagram?
Facebook. Facebook, yep. And I have a webpage, theinspiredcoach.com.au.
Inspired Coach. So I will put all your information on that. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that you all have a good week, and I'll listen and get back to you in the following week. Take care, everybody. Ciao. Bye, Maggie. Thank you.
Thanks, Carmela. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.